10 actors who went completely broke. In Hollywood, where being famous often means being rich, there are stories about actors who ran into money troubles. These stories can remind us that success isn't always permanent. Even though they were once big names and had loads of money, some actors faced serious financial problems. This happened because they spent too much, made bad investments, got into legal issues, or dealt with personal problems. Actors like Nicolas Cage, Mel Gibson, and Gary Coleman went from being well-known to struggling with money. In today's video, we will talk about 10 such actors who used to be famous, but then had money problems. They had a tough time recovering financially after going through these challenging situations. Number 1. Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage used to be one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood, raking in a net worth of over $150 million. However, he ended up making some not-so-smart money moves, like investing too much in real estate and splurging on extravagant buys. Then the real estate market crashed hard in 2008, leaving Cage drowning in debt of millions. On top of that, he had to cough up $6.3 million in property taxes to the IRS. To make ends meet, Cage had to take up a bunch of low-paying acting gigs, and he's admitted that he pretty much went broke. Cage has come out and said he looks back with regret on some of these purchases. He's learned his lesson, and now he's in the process of getting his finances back on track. Number 2. Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson used to be a big deal in Hollywood, both as an actor and a director. He was rolling in cash with a net worth of over $850 million. But things went south for him in the early 2010s. He got into a bunch of messy situations, like a DUI arrest, saying some pretty awful stuff, and a divorce that basically cut his fortune in half. Because of all this drama, a lot of big movie studios gave him the cold shoulder, and it got tough for him to find acting gigs. He's tried to make a comeback, but he's not quite the superstar he used to be. Even though he's had some money troubles, Mel Gibson hasn't given up on showbiz. He directed and starred in a movie called Hacksaw Ridge in 2016, and it won a couple of those fancy Academy Awards. And get this, he's also lined up to star in an upcoming film called Fat Man. Number 3. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan used to be this really successful young star in Hollywood, but she went through some tough times in her life, dealing with money and personal stuff. Back in 2012, the government actually took some money from her bank account because she hadn't paid her taxes, and that left her almost broke. Since then, she's been working on getting her finances back on track, but she's not as loaded as she used to be. Even with all those money issues, Lindsay Lohan didn't stop working in movies and TV. She even started making and selling her own clothes. Right now, it's said that she's got around $800,000, which is way less than what she had before. Number 4. Gary Busey. Gary Busey, the actor who got nominated for an Academy Award, went broke in 2012. Back then, he had less than $50,000 to his name, but owed over $500,000 in debts. Busey's money problems came from a bunch of stuff, like a motorcycle crash in 1988 that messed up his brain and his own spending habits. But now he's back on track, working in Hollywood again. After his money troubles, Busey really turned things around. He's been in a bunch of movies and TV shows since he went broke, and he even wrote a book about what he went through. These days, he's all about motivating people and helping out folks who've been through tough times financially. Number 5. MC Hammer. In early 90s, MC Hammer was this really popular rapper. You know, he had that mega hit "You Can't Touch This" that everyone was jamming to. He was living large and became one of the richest entertainers in the world. But here's the twist. He made some not-so-smart money moves and ended up flat broke in 1996. Picture this. A swanky $30 million mansion and a whole crew of 200 people working for him. And man, he was throwing money left and right on lawsuits and bad investments. It got so bad that he had to file for bankruptcy and sell off pretty much everything he had. But hold up, there's a silver lining. He didn't let that keep him down. MC Hammer got back on his feet, and now he's doing just fine financially. Number 6. TLC. So let's talk about TLC, that R&B girl group that totally owned the 90s. I mean, they were massive, selling more than 75 million records all around the world. But here's the twist. Even with all that fame, they had to hit the brakes and file for bankruptcy in 1995. Crazy, right? It was like a mix of things that got them there. messed up record deals, sky-high legal bills, and just regular life expenses. They managed to bounce back in 1996, but to be real, they never quite got back on top financially. TLC kept dropping tunes and hitting the road. And guess what? In 2017, they got their ticket to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Number 7. Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton, the Grammy-winning singer, filed for bankruptcy twice in the early 2000s. Braxton first filed for bankruptcy in 1998, claiming to be about $5 million in the hole. This time, the 43-year-old singer says she's racked up debts of up to $50 million. She had made millions of dollars from her music career, but she also had a lot of debt. In 2008, Braxton was diagnosed with lupus, an autoimmune disease. This required her to pay for expensive medical treatments, which further drained her finances. In 2010, Braxton had to cancel a series of Las Vegas shows due to health reasons. This resulted in a loss of income, which further contributed to her financial problems. Number 8. Pauly Shore. Back in the 90s, Pauly Shore was all the rage. People loved his acting and comedy. But when the 2000s hit, his career lost its sparkle. He tried a couple of times to make a comeback, but they didn't go so well. And in 2010, he had to throw in the towel and declare bankruptcy. Pauly got hit with money troubles for a bunch of reasons. He was living it up big time, didn't handle his finances too wisely, and folks' tastes were changing. Number 9. Martha Stewart. You know Martha Stewart, right? She used to have a ton of money, like billionaire-level money. But things took a nosedive after this whole insider trading mess in 2001. Her company, Martha Stewart Living Omnimedia, lost a huge chunk of its worth, and she had to unload her shares in it. She even got hit with a $30,000 fine and had to spend about 5 months behind bars. Number 10. Kim Basinger. Kim Basinger, the big Hollywood name from the 90s. Well, things took a rough turn for her back in 1993. She hit a string of financial roadblocks, a divorce, a lawsuit, and a business idea that didn't pan out. It got so bad that she had to declare bankruptcy and sell off her stuff, like her house and even her car. Tough times for sure. These financial setbacks left Kim Basinger with a net worth of just $5 million. She filed for bankruptcy in 1993 and had to sell her assets to pay off her debts. So what can we learn from these stories? Firstly, we need to be smart about money, even when we're successful. Be ready for financial setbacks and have a plan. Lastly, don't give up on yourself, no matter how tough things get. These celebs bounced back from money troubles, and so can we.